Good afternoon, everyone. I want to begin by taking a moment to recognize the more than 160,000 Allied troops who on this day in 1944 landed on the beaches of Normandy. Thousands of Allied soldiers lost their lives and thousands more were wounded during the fight to liberate Europe from Nazi control. We all owe the brave troops who were involved in this critical operation an enormous debt of gratitude for the freedom that we all enjoy today. Last night, the President was truly honored with the Vice President to host a reception and First Lady here at the White House to pledge our love, support, and undying gratitude to the Gold Star families who have experienced a similar sacrifice firsthand. The story of every brave man and woman who has paid the ultimate price, from the opening battles of our Revolutionary War to the ever-changing battlefields of today, is forever a part of our nation's proud history, and I hope everyone takes some time today to recognize the sacrifice that so many have made. Now, with respect to the schedule today, later this afternoon, the President will be hosting House and Senate leaders for a bicameral meeting to discuss his domestic policy agenda, specifically health care and tax reform. And later this evening, he will host a bicameral dinner of Republican members to discuss his recent overseas trip and the foreign policy challenges that he's ready to work with them to tackle. President Trump, as you know, has already signed in 36 individual bills into law, 14 under the Congressional Review Act. He passed the repeal and replace of Obamacare through the House, and the President has embarked on a historic first trip overseas, showing how quickly and decisively he's acting to rebuild America's standing in the world. And we've become the first administration since 1881 to confirm a Supreme Court justice within the first 100 days. Those are all things that I think will probably be discussed with some of these members of Congress today. And now that they're back from Memorial Day recess, we really look forward to carrying on with the agenda. On health care, as Sarah mentioned yesterday, we just don't have time to waste. Obamacare continues to collapse. I mentioned before, a third of the counties have only one provider on Obamacare. The average individual premiums have increased 105% on average from 2013 to 2017. And just today, Anthem, the only statewide insurer left in the state of Ohio, announced that it'll be pulling out of every county's Obamacare exchange, leaving 19,000 Ohioans without any options. The American people have been saddled with the bill for Washington's inability to get this disaster taken care of, and it's simply not right for them to have to pay it any longer. It's time for us to provide them with the choice and control that all Americans want over their own health care. The American people and the American economy have also been suffering under a burdensome, overcomplicated tax system that stifles growth and takes too much money out of the pockets of working families. We're looking forward to working with Congress to change that by dramatically simplifying the system and delivering relief to middle income earners. Tax reform is a critical part of the President's agenda, and his team is working with a wide range of stakeholders, from legislators to business leaders to longtime tax policy experts, to ensure that his plan that Congress ends up taking on will make sure that it gets to his desk so he can finally fix the system. Later this afternoon, Director Cohn and Secretary Mnuchin will attend a listening session with business leaders from the transportation sector. This is one of about a dozen listening sessions that we plan to hold in the next couple months with job creators in different parts of the economy to hear about the reforms that would best allow them to thrive, expand, and create well-paying jobs for American workers. The Vice President is also meeting with legislators on the Hill today to discuss these next steps on all of the above policies. Elsewhere, the President's cabinet remains focused on acting his agenda in their departments and agencies. Secretary of Labor Acosta announced that the Department of Labor will strengthen its focus on preventing visa program abuse and take every available legal action against those who abuse the programs. This includes reporting cases of criminal fraud to the Office of Inspector General, establishing a working group to coordinate the enforcement activities to maximize efficiency, using all tools in conducting civil investigations to enforce protection for the American worker provided by the visa programs, and developing proposed changes to the current system to better identify violations and fraud and greater transparency. The President obviously was elected on a promise to prioritize the American worker, and his entire team here in the White House and throughout government is working hard in their respective areas to fulfill that. With that, I'd be glad to take a few questions. John.
Sean, moments ago, Mitch McConnell, who will be here in the next few minutes, reiterated that he is not a fan of the president's tweets. We understand, and you've explained several times, that the president likes to have this conduit where he can talk directly to the American people. But does he sometimes cross the line where his tweets become the news, become the agenda, and it actually impedes his ability to get things done?
Well, in the context of your question, I think you helped answer. The president is the most effective messenger on his agenda, and I think his use of social media, he now has a collective total of close to 110 million people across different platforms, gives him an opportunity to speak straight to the American people, which has proved to be a very, very effective tool.
Using it and using it wisely can be two different things.
Right, and I think the same people who are critiquing his use of it now critiqued it during the election, and it turned out pretty well for him then. Blake.
Let me ask you about health care. You mentioned the meetings that are taking place. Senator Lindsey Graham said the other day that he, quote, he was asked whether or not there will be Senate will be able to get a deal together. He said, I don't think there will be. Senator Burr said it's unlikely that we will get a health care deal. So are they just misinformed? What's the difference between what Republican leadership in the White House is putting out and what some Republican senators are saying? They don't think a deal is possible at some point this year.
Well, this is an opportunity. I think today the president's going to talk about that when he meets with the leadership, but they're going to work their will, and I think they're all going to come together. These, by and large, every elected Republican in the House and the Senate campaigned on this for the last 7 years, and I think that they will come together to make sure that they achieve the goals of lowering costs and providing greater access. But I know there's a commitment by the leadership and the committee chairs, and we remain very hopeful that it's going to get done.
Infrastructure, Chuck Schumer just a little while ago called the infrastructure plan an investment bank infrastructure plan, a Goldman Sachs plan. He said it is a sure loser here in Congress, his words. Are you guys willing to commit more than the $200 billion, the federal government, to potentially meet Democrats whenever a bill comes forward to try to get that across the finish line?
Well, look, I think the American worker and our infrastructure are the president's priority in this, putting people back to work, establishing, fixing those roads and bridges that allow our economy to thrive and grow. He's talked, the president that is, has talked about the impact of, broken bridges and bad roads have an impact on the economy and the ability to people to deliver goods to market. So he's going to create that public-private partnership that ensures that we maximize dollars, that we put people back to work and get things done. And you saw that yesterday in the air traffic control proposal that he put forward, where you had union support, you had bipartisan support, because the president's approach at this is that of a businessman, of understanding how you can utilize that public-private partnership to maximize dollars, put people back to work, and not just transfer federal dollars to state dollars, which doesn't really have the same economic impact, is really engaging the private sector in this.
And let me ask you one question about tax reform. Jamie Dimon said today, quoting from him, the urgency for tax reform cannot be overstated. Here we are in the early phases of June. Again, nothing concrete at this point. Where is the urgency at this point from the administration?
Well, again, that's the subject that's going to be discussed today with the leadership. Something the president's talked about. As I just mentioned, Secretary Mnuchin and Director Cohen have been out talking to industry groups. We haven't had comprehensive tax reform since 1986. So it is something that is a big undertaking. When you're talking about the magnitude of this, both on the corporate side and on the individual side, and the impact that it's going to have on our economy and job creation, we need to get this right. We need to involve stakeholders from a variety of backgrounds to make sure that we get it right, and that's what the president and his team are doing. I want to talk to, someone asked the other day where our Skype folks are. I just want to make sure. David from Fox 29 in Philadelphia.
Sean, thank you so much for taking the time here. We really appreciate it here in Philadelphia and the greater Delaware Valley. We do have a question about the president's budget proposal, specifically the proposal to eliminate the deductions for local and state taxes, property taxes. In New Jersey, folks reportedly pay the highest amount of property taxes in the nation. There was a Quinnipiac poll that said 57% of folks surveyed do not support the proposal to get rid of those deductions. So the question is, what do you say to the folks who are worried they may take a major hit here?
Well, David, thank you for asking. I think if you look at the principles outlined by Director Cohn and Secretary Mnuchin when they talked about the president's tax reform agenda. One of the principles was increasing the standard deduction. So for a middle-income family, you're talking about a doubling of that to $24,000. We estimate that about 95% of the folks that file now would not take individual deductions because of the large increase that would happen. Most middle-income Americans would actually save more under the president's plan because of the large increase that would exist with respect to the standard deduction. Blake, Trey, sorry.
Thanks, Sean. Just moments ago, the U.S.-led coalition announced that they've struck pro-Assad regime forces in southern Syria. Has the president been briefed on this situation?
He has.
And a quick follow-up question on the president's tweets. Are President Trump's tweets considered official White House statements?
Well, the president is the president of the United States, so they're considered official statements by the president of the United States.
If I can follow up on that question, is President Trump at all concerned that his tweets could be used against him at the level of the Supreme Court when the ACLU takes on this travel ban case?
Well, I think we've made it clear with respect to that, that the court should follow the law. And I think the danger is real, the law is clear, and there's no question that we should prevail at the Supreme Court. Amen.
Thank you, Sean. Can you tell us where the president's going to be and what he's going to be doing on Thursday at 10 a.m.? Is he going to watch former Director Comey's testimony up on Capitol Hill?
The president's got a full day on Thursday. There's an infrastructure meeting with mayors and governors to talk about some of the projects that need to get out of that public-private partnership that I just discussed. He's giving a speech midday to the Faith and Freedom Coalition downtown. There's going to be a very busy day, as all of his days are. Look, as I just said, the president's going to have a very, very busy day, and as he does all the time, and I think his focus is going to be on pursuing the agenda and the priorities that he was elected to do. I'm going to get to our second guy here, Scott Hennon at KFYR in the Dakotas.
Hi, Sean. Good to talk with you. I host a radio show here in, as you mentioned, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and Northern Plains, and have the blessing of talking to listeners every day who are enormously frustrated right now with the way that Washington works. Like the president, they're not fond of the swamp. I'm curious if the infrastructure debate will be different. The president focusing on that. Our governor will be part of the governors and mayors that are coming on Thursday. Does he believe infrastructure is more than roads and bridges, like UAS and drones, autonomous vehicles, pipelines, broadband, flood protection, which is all creating jobs here right now? And will the infrastructure debate be better received there than the healthcare and tax reform debates have been so far? Might it be the chance you have to begin draining the swamp?
Well, thanks for the question. As you know, your governor will be here on Thursday with a variety of other governors and mayors to talk about infrastructure. That'll be an opportunity for your governor to talk about the challenges that you guys face in the Dakotas. I know in North Dakota alone, there's several critical projects in both roads and bridges that need to get addressed, how the governor prioritizes them. But one of the issues that has been discussed with respect to the president's infrastructure plan is creating different pools of projects that allow for innovation, allow for prioritization. And so that will be something that, again, is in partnership with localities, with states, to figure out what their priorities are, what they can do to help raise the necessary funds, and really do this in a business-like, innovative way. So we've got a ways to go. Mara?
Sean, thank you. In Saudi Arabia, the president signed a lot of letters of intent with the Saudis to buy American weapons. Have there been any actual contracts signed yet with Saudi Arabia? And if not, when will they be?
That's a great question. I think the Department of Defense was the lead on that. So there were two sides. We had about $110 billion of defense procurement items that were military sales with Saudi Arabia initially, that was totaled up to $350 billion over the next couple of years. The immediate $110 million, I believe, were signed right then.
Actual contracts?
I believe so. That's something that you should follow up with the Department of Defense. The totality of that could lead to about $350 billion over the next few years. And then there's another almost over $350 million on the commercial side that the Department of Commerce can probably provide you a better list with that's separate.
You're saying there are actual contracts right now?
I don't. There were agreements with the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense took the lead on that. I don't know what was actually signed. I know that there were two pieces of this, as I mentioned, the defense side and the commercial side. You saw, at least through the pool, there was press in the room when the commercial side was done. I believe most of the defense stuff, the initial $110 billion of the 310, I believe, was up front and done.
I wanted to ask about the president's tweets this morning on the Saudi-led isolation of Qatar. I had two questions. The first was the president seemed to be taking credit for the action, so I'm wondering if the White House actively encouraged sort of rupture among the Gulf states, and did the president or anybody in the administration speak to the Saudis before it happened about what was going to happen?
This issue is not new. It's been there's been tension among Qatar's neighbors for quite some time, and the situation was notified through proper diplomatic channels. The United States continues to be in close communication with all the parties to resolve the issues and restore cooperation, which is so important to regional security there. I think that there is note that his message of toughness on terror finance and extremism is being heeded by countries in the region, but the U.S. still wants to see this issue de-escalated and resolved immediately, keeping with the principles that the president laid out in terms of defeating and terror financing and extremism.
Sorry, can I just, well, there's a lot of concerns in Qatar that the move, especially with support from the president, is aimed at removing the emir or his family from power. Considering that the president believes that the government there is financing terror groups, would regime change there be beneficial or detrimental?
The president had a very, very constructive conversation with the emir during his visit in Riyadh. At that time, he was very heartened by the emir's commitment to formally joining the Terrorist Financing Targeting Center and showing their commitment to this issue.
Sean, the China. Sorry, you next.
Yeah, well, you got
Major first.
So you mentioned tax reform at the top. Mark Short had a little bit of trouble yesterday trying to resolve what the administration's position on revenue neutrality is. And the reason I raised this is Mick Mulvaney last week was quoted as saying, several folks in the White House have said they are interested in pushing a larger tax bill that would add to the deficit. That's Mick Mulvaney talking about the deliberations here about what this ultimate package would look like. Mark wasn't really sure yesterday about how to guide us through whether revenue neutrality is a key priority for the administration in the tax reform debate or not. Can you assist us?
I think that part of that is because there's a discussion ongoing with Congress. Director Mulvaney, Secretary Mnuchin, and others, Gary Cohen, are working with Congress to talk about the plan going forward. So that's a conversation that, as I mentioned at the top, the president is going to have a conversation in the next several minutes with House and Senate leadership, and that will sure be a topic that they will discuss.
So an increase in the deficit is something that the administration would find acceptable with tax reform.
Well, I would put it more like this, that there is a conversation that is going to go on with Congress about how to proceed, and it's not, at this time, I'm not going to get in front of that discussion.
Sarah said yesterday in response to a question about who it was that changed the president's NATO speech, taking out the Article 5 language, she would check on that and get back to us. I know you didn't make that commitment, but she did. Can you give us an answer to that question?
I don't have that. I don't know. So I will ask Sarah to follow up with you.
Can you confirm that that in fact is what happened? There was one speech and a different one was prepared late in the process, and that speech did in fact take some of those who believe they were aware of the first speech by surprise.
I think, as we've commented before, the president's speech at the top talked about Article 5. We were at a NATO Article 5 commemoration. The idea that we would recommit ourselves to something that we were clearly there to celebrate seems a bit silly, but I don't know about the contents of the speech, but I think, frankly, it's a bit of a silly discussion because, as we addressed at the time, the president's presence at an Article 5 commemoration and his discussion about NATO invoking Article 5 for the first time ever after 9/11 pretty much speaks for itself in terms of our commitment to both NATO and all 13 articles that make up being part of that treaty.
Would it be a silly exercise to find out exactly what happened?
Well, again, there's a lot of things that happened.
Significant reporting that there was one version and then another version was delivered. And
I understand, but I would argue that there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes in terms of every speech, every meeting the president has in terms of preparation, and until the president gets a version that he feels is appropriate on any number of subjects, it's not appropriate for us to go out there and share it. But I will follow up with Sarah on that thing. But I think to the broader point is that the president remains entirely committed to NATO and to all of the articles, not just Article 5.
Last question, how would you describe the president's level of confidence in the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions?
I have not had a discussion with him about that.
Last time you said that, there was a development.
I'm asking, I'm answering a question, which is I have not had that discussion with him.
So you can't say he has confidence in his Attorney General?
I said I have not had a discussion with him on the question. If I haven't had a discussion with him about a subject, I tend not to speak about it.
Sean, the Chinese government has rejected a call from the State Department to release 3 activists that were detained amidst a Chinese shoe company that produced shoes for Ivanka Trump and others. Does the White House have any specific comment on these detentions? Does the president, does Ivanka Trump want to see these people released?
I think the State Department has made it very clear the U.S. position on that and will continue to exert the proper diplomatic pressure on that.
Hear from the president
It's a State Department issue, and I would suggest that you follow up with them. Olivier, I'm sorry, hold on.
Can I
You
just
wait.
say that London mayor is saying that the president should no longer come on a state visit there? Are there any plans at this point? I know he's been invited.
He
Is he still intending to visit at some
He
point?
appreciates Her Majesty's gracious invitation.
Thank you, Sean. Two on Afghanistan. Before the foreign trip, the president's first foreign trip, senior officials were telling us that you guys would unveil the results of the Afghan review and the president's decision-making after the foreign trip. Do you have a timeline for us? When can we expect this announcement?
I think the president will continue to discuss that with Secretary Mattis, General McMaster, and others, and when he feels as though he's comfortable with the plan that he wants to push forward, we'll let you know.
What does victory look like in Afghanistan?
I think a stable government, us free from threats, and that's, again, I think we've commented on that before. We want to make sure that we root out all forms of terrorism and provide stability in the region. Dave.
Sean, yesterday there was the first case of a leaker in this administration being arrested. The Justice Department announced the charges, and it seems pretty clear from reading her social media posts that she is an opponent of the president and his policies. First of all, was the president made aware? Did he have a reaction to this arrest?
I don't know, and as you guys know, with respect to all kind of ongoing investigations, we would never comment on an ongoing investigation. That being said, I think that you've heard the president very clearly talk about the concern that he has about unauthorized disclosures of classified and sensitive information and the threat that they can pose to national security. So while I don't want to comment on any specific case or allegation, I think it is important to note that any disclosure of classified or sensitive information can clearly threaten our national security. John.
Thanks so much, Sean. You have said on many occasions from the podium that the president's tweet speaks for itself. Yesterday, in a series of tweets, the president faulted the Department of Justice for its defense of the president's executive order on immigration. Given that he has faulted the DOJ, does he also fault the person who leads the DOJ, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions?
I think I've answered that question.
But as it relates to
Thank you.
despite what you have said today and what Sarah said, you said John. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, John. Despite what you just said about the dispute in the Persian Gulf, it's clear the president is taking sides in this. Why?
In what way?
He said today on Twitter, all reference was pointed to Qatar. Perhaps this will be the beginning of the end to the horror of terrorism.
Well, I think as I commented on this, he's noting the message of toughness on terror financing. No, that's not what I said. I think he had a very productive discussion with the emir during his visit in Riyadh. He was very pleased that they joined with the other Gulf nations in their support of the Terror Financing Center to root that out, and he's pleased with the movements he's taken. But obviously, he is very concerned about terror financing and stomping out ISIS and all forms of terrorism. John Gizzi.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Two questions. First, is the president comfortable with Robert Mueller as the special prosecutor, and does he believe that a president has the right to replace the special prosecutor if he or she exceeds his mandate in that position?
I literally have not had that kind of conversation. I have not discussed that with the president.
Right. My other question is this. On Sunday, the president put out a very forceful commemoration of the Battle of Midway 70 years ago. He did not know anything about the 25th anniversary of Tiananmen Square in China, the uprising, the building of the Goddess of Liberty. Is there going to be any statement about the brave uprising in China of a quarter century ago.
I'll look into that, John, for you. With that, guys, I know the House and Senate leadership are here, so thank you guys very much.
Sean, come
That was the Sean Spicer White House press briefing. You know, it seemed to me like he was rushing during the briefing because he'd do this thing where he would he'd finish one question and be like, John? He'd ask for the next question very quickly, and then at the end he said that there were I think congressional leaders there and they had to go do something with them. But anyways, that ended kind of quickly at the end there. So I will confess, the last 5 minutes of the press conference, I didn't really see very well, press briefing, I didn't see, because I was looking at this news, which is just coming out now, here it is, it's from ABC. ABC News has posted this story. It says, exclusive, Comey will stop short of saying Trump obstructed justice. He will not say that. Now, to me, it's very funny because really, everybody's the mainstream media is all rushing to cover this hearing, which I don't think will give you any new news at all, and I've thought that from the beginning. And even CBS and NBC, the networks, not the news, but the networks themselves I think it's CBS and I think NBC, it's two of the networks, I think it's CBS and NBC, are already committed to covering this testimony live, which is crazy to me because they don't break in for any news coverage live, basically, and they're going to break in for this? And I think the only reason everybody was rushing to cover this is because they thought that it was going to be some huge revelation where Comey got up there and said, he did all this bad stuff and he obstructed justice. He's not going to say it. So, well, according to ABC News. Anyways, which is what I thought always would be the case happening. But it also, I just find it funny because I've said it before, it's I call this the tabloidization of the mainstream media news coverage under President Trump's administration, where it's there's so much news they don't cover, and all they focus on are the tabloidy narrative of will he get impeached because of Comey obstruction of justice, and they cover that nonstop. You watch an hour of CNN, and the Russia Kushner Comey is all they cover. They don't do 10 minutes on Qatar and a few minutes on Venezuela and some talk about other important issues going on. It's all Russia all the time and all this stuff and related stuff, and so, which to me is ridiculous, and it's not really news coverage anymore. But anyways, so I find this very funny that everybody's committing to covering this now, and he's not going to say Trump obstructed justice, according to ABC News at least. This is Right Side Broadcasting. This is the post show for the briefing. We're going to talk about the press briefing. By the way, somebody made a donation during the briefing. Jake, who was that? Who made a donation? Teachable Woman donated $10. Thank you, Teachable Woman. Again, we are. Okay. So we are Right Side Broadcasting. We are viewer supported. If you'd like to support us, help us stay on the air. We can't stay on the air without your help. Go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or click the $sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat room. So we're taking your comments. We want to hear what you have to say about the press briefing. What did you think? Anything in particular you liked, didn't like? Any strong comments you have? Any questions? If you want to write in, I'm happy to read your comment on the air. Write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER, or email me, steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. And I think we're going to try, if you want, you can call in for this post show. We can take phone calls. It's been so long, Jake, I don't even remember the number. How about that, Jake? I don't even remember the number. I got to look it up here. Oh, good. 202-470-0049. So we'll even take your call if you have any thoughts about the press briefing. How about that? So you can write in or call in. So let me check my messages here. Lisa Henneke writes in, all redundant questions need to be shut down with no follow-up allowed. That will put an end to it once and for all. So Lisa, you're unhappy with what you see to be redundant questions still being asked in the press briefing. And Jake, if we want, we can just go full. We're still on split screen right now, but there's nothing else happening at the podium. There we go. All right, we'll just do that. And let's see here. I'm just checking. I know somebody else emailed me, and I wanted to check that. 1 second, please, while I call up that email. Oh, a few emails here. Carl Peterson writes in, As much as I like Spicer, he should learn from Sarah the school marm and dismiss the questions that distract from the issue at hand. Rock on, RSBN. Thank you very much, Carl, for writing in. Let me just adjust me. There we go. That's a little better. Let's go back to mail. We have some more messages here. This is from, yes. Oh my gosh, Judith Guggenon just gave $100 on our PayPal site, rsbn.tv/donate. That's very nice of you, Judith. Thank you. A bunch of you donated today. We really do appreciate it. You let us be on the air. We could not be here covering the news and giving you an alternative to the mainstream media without your support. So we really appreciate it. If you want to donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can go to click the dollar sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat. If you're on Facebook, feel free to share our video right now. We'd love that when you share our videos. Okay, this is from Laid Back LA Rock, who writes, let's see. Steve, love what you're doing. Been sharing almost all your Facebook and YouTube broadcasting. Thank you on behalf of Rightside for doing that. I also have been providing support for Fox commentators, who is changing a bit since Roger Ailes' death. I was in communications for many years and would love to team up with you to create links to your programming. Oh, this seems like more of a business email. So I'll read the rest of this later because I don't think you intended to be read on the air. But I will read this in a little bit. But thank you for writing in and for your kind words.
Steve, also, it looks like we are live on Rapid Fire Radio. Somebody named Reb Ryder, who is on the Facebook chat. I just checked it, and they are showcasing our audio right now on their internet radio station.
That's nice. Hello, everybody at Rapid Fire Radio. I know nothing about it. Maybe I should, but I appreciate you spreading the word. And hello, everybody out there at Rapid Fire Radio. Let's see here. And that's good to know. Okay, Greg Jackson writes in, apart from John Decker, it seems the further back, the more intelligent the questions are in the press briefings. In the same manner, the dumbest, most ridiculous are from the front row. That's from Greg Jackson. I did notice, thanks Greg, I tweeted out that Major Garrett asked like 4 different questions, and it's like, I said, is he the new, he seems like the new April Ryan. And what I mean is that, like, you know, there's so many reporters there and there's only so much time and they're not all going to be able to ask questions. So if you're a reporter and you ask follow-up questions, you're taking time away from another reporter. And to me, when April Ryan used to do this, she would ask like 4 questions that would take forever. And I was like, the other reporters must hate her because the more she talks, the more she asks questions, that's less time for everybody else. And I felt the same thing with Major Garrett today, as he kept asking follow-ups and more questions, and it's just like, I'm sure everybody else there was just like, or most people there were just like, dude, just shut up already. You've asked your 2 questions, be quiet. Anyways, let's see. Sorry, I just want to get back to my messages here and see what you wrote in. Roxanne Harrington writes in, I personally like how he would not be baited by the press. I love Spicer. Thanks, Roxanne, for writing in. Andrew Sova, yeah, you sent me this link, and it says, do you know about this? The Czech government frees its own citizens to take arms against the terrorists. This was an article you sent in, Andrew, from, where was this from? Conservative Daily Post, and it says, shoot them yourselves. Czech government orders its citizens to take up arms. Now it says, the Czech president told his constituents they should arm themselves for what he called potential super holocaust carried out by Muslim invaders. Now I will say this, I do not know much about the Conservative Daily Post, so I would need more confirmation on this story. But if you want to read it, you should go to Conservative Daily Post. Thank you, Andrew Sova, for sending me that link. Oh, yes, so if you want to write in or call in, just so you know, especially if you're listening on the radio, to write me at @Lookner on Twitter at LOOKNER, or email me steve.lookner@rsbn.tv, or you can call in today, let's see, 202-470-0049. U.S. Navy for America. Oh, he replied to one of my tweets, but I'll read it. I read out a tweet. I sent out a tweet yesterday where the Wall Street Journal had a story yesterday that's saying, the Wall Street Journal itself, the story I'll tell you was, exclusive test data, many colleges fail to improve critical thinking skills. And my comment was, you don't say. Because it doesn't surprise me when a lot of colleges are supposedly great colleges are shutting down free speech and not encouraging an exchange of ideas, and rather trying to enforce trying to cut down on the exchange of ideas and only let certain ideas be talked about publicly on their college campus. It doesn't surprise me that those colleges wouldn't result in kids having better critical thinking skills, because they're actually discouraging kids from developing critical thinking skills when they do that and they do cut down on free speech. So they're doing the opposite of what they should be doing. So, and U.S. Navy for America writes in, 89% of Baltimore high school grads fail minimum academic tests even with their dumbed down curriculum. Now I don't know anything about the Baltimore schools, so I can't speak intelligently to that. But I will say with the colleges, I do feel like they do a disservice to their students when they try to control what is being talked about on campus and try to enforce only everybody should believe certain things and other opinions aren't welcome on campus and these kind of things. Let's see here. JC wanted to repeat the number to call in, 202-470-0049. That's the number to call us on the post show. To repeat again, I want to repeat that because I think it's important. It's important news that ABC News is reporting that James Comey will not say that President Trump obstructed justice during his testimony on Thursday, which is what I think a lot of the mainstream media wanted him to say. Now, that's not to say he might say other things. He could say President Trump asked me to if I would, my guess would be he would say what was reported earlier, which is some version of President Trump said something like he hopes that maybe the charge could be dropped against Flynn or something like that. I don't know. That wouldn't surprise me if he said something like that. Maybe he won't even talk about that stuff at all. Let's see. I had said before on this broadcast a couple minutes ago that I had said, is Major Garrett the new April Ryan because he's asking so many questions? And Dangerous just sent me this tweet, and he said he would have to lose a lot of brain cells to be an April Ryan. Hold on. This was from Dangerous. So that was Dangerous said that, and he included that picture. So that's Dangerous's comment. Dangerous is not an April Ryan fan. Sorry, I'm getting a little stuck here. Hold on. My mic got stuck. That's better. Roxanne Harrington says it's sad most colleges are a joke now. Sightless Seer says, a question posed as much for you as listeners. What are your thoughts on Iran seeking to fill the void in alliances toward Qatar region in the wake of these events? And what may this mean if such an offer is accepted by Qatar, considering the majority of their prosperity is built on imports in that region? If switched with Iran could pose an economic shift in the political theater of the region. So what you're wondering about, it's a good question, Sightless Seer, is, so I know Iran is letting Qatar use its airspace now. And I saw a story that suggested maybe Iran will start sending Qatar more food because Qatar can't get Qatar can't get food now. Qatar over the land border with Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia and a bunch of other Gulf countries have cut ties with Qatar, cut diplomatic ties, and are not allowing cross-border contact with them and making their residents go back home to Qatar, but they're not allowing trade over the border with them. So what you're saying, Sightless Seer, is, hey, could this mean that Qatar and Iran strengthen their alliance, and might this be bad for the U.S.? I think that's a good question. I know I am not an expert on that region. I would need to research more to answer that question intelligently. But it does raise a complex issue. It's this issue, and President Trump was asked about. Sean Spicer was asked about that today. President Trump tweeted that he thought this. His tweet suggested he thought the moves of countries like Saudi Arabia to isolate Qatar was a good thing because they were doing it, President Trump said, as part of the fight against terrorism. They disapproved of Qatar supporting groups affiliated with terrorist activity. But is there a downside to this here? Because Qatar has been an ally of the U.S. We have a big military base there. And another downside you're pointing out is that maybe Qatar ends up allying more with Iran. Now, I will say Sean Spicer said in the briefing, I actually wrote this down, Sean Spicer, when asked about, the Qatar situation, said, he said President Trump is glad that his message of toughness on terror financing was taken seriously by the Gulf countries when he was visiting Saudi Arabia. But he also said that the president wants the Qatar situation to be de-escalated and resolved immediately. So it sounds like President Trump, according to Sean Spicer, is happy that a message is being sent to Qatar on financing terrorism, but he doesn't want this to go on for a long time, and doesn't want Qatar to be like permanently isolated. So a good question, Sightless Seer. This is the post show. This is Right Side Broadcasting. We are talking about the Sean Spicer briefing, the things he talked about during the briefing, as we do for every briefing. If you want, you can write in and give your comment. I'll read it on the air. If you have any comments about any of the things talked about today or any of the big issues in the news, at Lookner on Twitter or steve.lookner at rsbn.tv is my email. And I also, if you happen, we are able to take calls as well. If you want to call in, you can call the number, which is 202-470-0049. Let me check something here. Faye Mills writes in, time to close all colleges. They're no longer learning facilities. Make them military schools to teach discipline, manners, and history. Thank you, Faye, for your comment. Now, Faye, I'm open to schools, changing. They don't have to necessarily, to me, they don't have to close. If they can change them and make them better. It's just my experience, I was in grad school before coming here, so I'm familiar with some of our nation's colleges. That there are colleges where they really do, they do not encourage critical thinking. They do not encourage a free exchange of ideas, and they, I was studying at UCLA. That's one of the schools I was at before this. And they really, to me, you get these, this is enforced, this comes down from like the administration, where you really get a sense that the administration itself is anti-Trump, is anti-conservative, and does not welcome those kind of views on campus. I remember, after the election and President Trump won, there was this email that went out from one of the university administrators talking about how a lot of the students were so shocked about the events and offering I believe it was counseling or something. But it was I cannot imagine this would have happened, this email would have gone out if Hillary had won the election. And on a diverse campus, you should be offering equal, what you should do, you shouldn't be treating groups with one kind of political view different than another kind of political view. But they really do that at UCLA. And there's numerous examples I've seen of this over the last couple of years at UCLA. I won't get into them all specifically, but that's just one example. If you want to, there's plenty of, if you go to Campus Reform or Lone Conservative, you can find plenty of other examples at colleges of them, not shutting down conservative views or being overtly against conservative views. And it's to me, colleges, if they're going to make students learn, let debate flourish. Let all kinds of views flourish. Look, I do not subscribe to, say, racist views. I totally disapprove of them. But I think racists should have every right on a campus to get up in public and say what they believe. And because that'll make students think more, and it'll make students try to develop, if they disapprove of those racist views, the students will have to think, well, why do I disapprove? What's a good argument against it? So I think all views should be encouraged, including uncomfortable views. That's really a big point of college. Get faced with uncomfortable views that you're not used to and see if they have any merit. Explore them. If they don't have merit, be able to come up with a good argument why they don't have merit, rather than just react without thinking about something. And so I just don't think, I'm talking about UCLA, but if there was a college that did this and promoted only conservative views and didn't let liberal speakers think, I would say the same thing about them. So I just think a lot of colleges are not doing this and not encouraging critical thinking, and they're performing a disservice to their students, and I believe the country, because you don't want people who are not good critical thinkers voting and deciding what policies the countries will take, which is going to happen in the future. Today's college students are all going to be reaching voting age, and they'll be in Congress, and you want them to be good critical thinkers. Let's see here. This is we got a message from Ryan Bardwell. Ryan says, Steve, will RSBN ever have a reporter in the White House to cover news? So Ryan, I do think it's possible that if we had somebody in D.C., we could, in theory, get that person into at least some of the White House press briefings. We just don't have a full-time person in D.C. right now, and it's like, this is the kind of thing where I wish we were bigger, but we have such limited resources. And in case you don't know, it might look like we're a big TV network. We're very, very, very small. You can count the number of employees we have on one hand. We rely on your support to even stay on the air. We don't have a lot of money. We can't advertise. And it's not easy to survive as a news network. We're trying to grow, but we're very small. So unfortunately, we don't have, it'd be nice to have a full-time person we could pay in DC to just go, and if we had that full-time person, they could apply for a press pass and maybe be in some of those briefings. But we just don't have the manpower right now. We'd like to in the future. So if you'd like to help us out, we always appreciate it because we really do rely on your support to stay on the air. At RSB Network, sorry, that's not it. If you want to donate, you can go to rsbn.tv/donate. That's rsbn.tv/donate. Or click on the $sign in the YouTube chat room for this event. Click at the $sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat. So thank you, Ryan. It's a good question, but that's my honest answer to your question. Faye Mills said, the ban is against terrorism, but media says Muslims. Are media saying all Muslims are terrorists? Something you're pointing out is a bunch of the media, like in the courts actually, some people in the courts said this is a Muslim ban. And as I've said before on the air, I have my big doubts about that because it just seems weird that this is, if President Trump really wanted to ban Muslims from coming into the country, would he pass a ban that only applies to a few Muslim countries and also applies to non-Muslims in those countries? It just seems weird to me and not justified to say that's a Muslim ban. So I have issues with people calling it a Muslim ban. Thanks, Faye, for writing in. Let me go to my email here. Make sure I'm caught up on your messages. Ooh, there's some more messages here. Amanda Maccabee says, that was an intense briefing, but Sean did a great job. Carl Peterson writes in, the tweets are a ploy to distract the mainstream media. Meanwhile, President Trump is signing, meeting, and shoving his agenda forward, making America great again. Thank you, Carl, for writing in. Bill Joyce, or Billy Joyce, says, Steve, is it wrong if I'm imagining Sean Spicer turning into a green T-Rex and attacking Major Garrett and the liberal reporters? I don't think that'll actually happen, but maybe you think that Sean Spicer imagines doing that, Billy. Thanks for writing in. Okay, we're going to be here a little while longer on the air, so if you'd like to get in a comment or a question on the post show, write to me on Twitter at Lookner at LOOKNER, or email me steve.lookner@rsbn.tv, or call me at 202-470-0049. I think I got that right. Yes, I did. And that's 202-470-0049. Thank you to the moderators for all your moderating today. Much appreciated in the chat rooms. Let's see, I have this from, oh yes, Steve, Miss Apropos writes in, Steve, just an announcement, Milo Yiannopoulos' new book, Dangerous, is now available to pre-order. Release date is July 4th, 2017. Perfect date for a release of a book standing for free speech. I just pre-ordered my copy, Angela Ray. Thanks for reminding me. I got, sorry, that was from Miss Apropos. I'll show you if I can find it here. Oh, cool. So I'll go to that call. We have a call. I'm going to go to that in a second. Let me just real quick see if I can find this email. Is it on? Unfortunately, it's on my, hold on. Can I find it on my right side account? Let's see. Give me one sec, folks. I would love to show you this email. Because it's the Milo book announcement from Milo. Well, not from him personally, but from like his team there. There's one other place I'm going to look, so because I really would like to show it to you. Is it fun watching me search through my email? It's probably not. I apologize. It'll be worth it in the end, I think, unless I don't find it. Okay, last place. This is literally the last place I'm going to check for this. Is it there? Is it there? Maybe? Nope. I'll try to find it. If you remind me, I'll try to remind myself later to find it and show it on the air in the future. But they sent out a press release. You know what? Hold on. You know what? Maybe if I Google Milo book, there's a picture of the cover, because since it's being announced today. Let's see. Okay, I see that. Are there images of it? Well, Breitbart has a report that says Milo book Dangerous back on sale, soars to #1 on Amazon, passes Clinton and Sass. And and this is the picture Breitbart has of the book right here. I'll show it to you. So there you go. So you can go on Amazon if you want to and order that book, if you're interested in reading it. Okay, so we have Music World on the line. Am I correct? Jake? Music World? Anyone?
Steve, you there?
Yes, I am here. Hello, Music World. How are you?
Great. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good, thank you. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, my brother's a journalist in Seattle, Washington for Como News, and he got called over to London for that last terror attack they had.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm feeling a little unsettled with family that close to everything that's been happening. My guess is he's probably going to be heading over towards France here soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd just like the RSB family to put out little prayers for my brother, Scott Carty, journalist.
Well, we definitely hope your brother and everybody else over there is safe. I know, the authorities seem to be on it there. There's lots of police around. I saw that today that the London Bridge, the area around it is cordoned off, and they're talking about doing it for several more days. So they're taking this very seriously, and hopefully, we wish the best for your brother and for his safe return, and for everybody else over there. It's nice of him to go over there and to try to bring people the news. I respect journalists who have the courage to go to those places that could be dangerous and do that. So nice thing for him to do, to let people know about what's going on over there. But our thoughts are with you as your brother is over there, and we wish him a safe return.
Thank you. I sent him a message. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I hope he's safe and sound.
Cool, we do too. Thank you, Music World, so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. That was Music World. This is Right Side Broadcasting. This is the post show. I should mention again, Thursday, the James Comey testimony. We'll carry it live, 10 Eastern, and at 9:15 Eastern, we're doing a pre-show for it, so you can join us early in the morning. It's not that early. It's early for me. Also, it's Central Time, so it'll be 8:15 Central Time. We're on Central Time here. But you can join us for a pre-show and a post-show, and then later Thursday, it's going to be a busy day. If there's a White House briefing, we'll bring you that. But then even later on Thursday, 3:30 p.m., we're going to have coverage of the British election, live election results. Now, it's nighttime there, but it's afternoon here. So remember, the election, the polls close at 10 p.m. in England, but that's 4 p.m. here. So we're going to start our coverage at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time of the British election. Hope you join us for that. Let's see. Julie H. writes in, why couldn't RSBN join White House briefings via Skype like they do with others? No need to have someone in D.C., just a thought. Hey, Jake, do you want to comment on this question about whether Right Side can join the briefings via Skype?
Sure. Yes, we're working on that, actually. We're currently working on that as we speak. It's all I can say, and I'd like it to be a surprise if that's a thing that happens. But all I can say is, yes, we're working on it.
And a good suggestion, Julie H. Thank you. And it is something that we were talking about in the office today, especially because there had been a bunch of briefings without a Skype question, and today there were a couple of them. So maybe they're going to start doing them more again. We would love to ask a question. So, as Jake said, we are working on it. Mr. Info, hold on, this is from Mr. Calloway. Mr. Calloway sent me a tweet with a link that says, it's a link from Mediaite, and it says, Senators stabbed Trump to death in Central Park performance of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. I hadn't seen this story before. Shakespeare in the Park. This rendition of Shakespeare's tragedy comes with a twist. Caesar is played by a character that bears a striking resemblance to President Donald Trump. And then they stab him during the play. So, let's see. And then, so this was shared to me by Mr. Calloway, and he says, sickening. Again, that's on Mediaite if you want to see that post. Roxanne Harrington writes in, I hear you, I'm broke. I'm a hardworking American whose money goes to bills, gas, and food, etc. I use word of mouth to share my blog page on Facebook called Roxy Speaks Her Mind. I don't have the money to boost posts, so I just use word of mouth. I'm open to positive critiques. You're responding to something we said. Maybe you were responding to when we said we don't have much money here, Roxanne. So thank you for writing in. Deplorable Tiger Fan writes in, sent me the link. Deplorable Tiger Fan sent me a link to Jack Posobiec's tweet where Jack Posobiec said Milo's book outsells Chelsea Clinton in one day. This is a link that Jack Posobiec posted from Red Alert Politics, which says, within hours, Milo Yiannopoulos' book, within hours, Milo Yiannopoulos' book sales surpass Chelsea Clinton's. That's at Red Alert Politics if you want to read it. I have not read it yet, so I can't ascertain what the content is of that, but I'll show you because it was recommended by one of our viewers. Eric Crocker writes in, do you think it's time for President Trump to start hosting fireside chat, speaking directly to the people, bypassing mainstream media? So, I don't think, this thing keeps getting caught up here. I'm sorry. What keeps happening here? Let's see. Let me fix this for a second. This is pulling. That's better. So, President Trump has said, and as Sean Spicer said today, he likes tweeting. He likes going directly to the people. So I certainly could see him doing the kind of fireside chat thing. Now, he does have a weekly address. Could he do more of those? I could see that. I could see him doing more rallies, too. So I certainly see it as possible. He's a busy man, of course, so don't know. We'll see. Definitely, if he's going to, there was some speculation that he might start having fewer press briefings, but that has not happened. He's been having one every day. There was some speculation when he got back from his trip, maybe fewer press briefings, but he had one Friday, had one Monday, had one Tuesday. So for now, the press briefings still seem to be happening. But, he hasn't had a press conference in a while. So will he want to speak to the public more directly? We'll see. But I certainly think it's possible. Eric? JC says, Steve, the phone lines were down. We're good now. So if you would like to call in, the number's on the screen, 202-470-0049. Or you can write in any comments or questions you have about this press briefing, the news of the day, at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. Feel free to follow me if you'd like. I post about a lot of breaking news stuff. Also, follow Right Side Broadcasting at RSB Network. And Jacob Seals, our great producer and our music expert who does all our music here and makes all our music, he can be reached at Jacob RSBN Music. You can follow him there.
Music expert.
Well, he's a music expert, but I also said you make the music too. Right?
Yes.
Yes. So I did say both those things, Jake. I gave you credit for both of those. Let's see. John Stanton writes, Steve, give a shout out to Amanda McAbee. She wants to call in. Well, she wrote in, so she's welcome to call in if she wants to call in. Sam Miller says, just now reporters asked President Trump about Comey. President Trump responded, I wish him good luck. That might have been like on CNN or something. So we don't have the pool feed here, so we can't get you that live. If it was on live, I don't know if it was. I'm in the studio right now, and Jake is producing, so we didn't see it. But thank you, Sam, for giving us the heads up about that. Andrew Sova says, speaking of the Milo book, I pre-ordered a copy. I especially like the reviews of it. So funny. Thanks, Andrew. Let me look at. I like doing a little news check real quick and seeing if there's anything that happened in the last couple of minutes. No, I think we're caught up there, and I want to check my email again. Oh yeah, so Jamie Dupree also tweeted out, asked by reporters about Comey's testimony on Thursday, the president says, good luck. The president also, in a meeting with GOP leaders in Congress, according to Jamie Dupree, President Trump called Obama health law a Democrat-inflicted catastrophe and said next year is only going to get worse. There was a report in the Wall Street Journal today that Anthem, the insurer, is pulling out of some markets in Ohio and leaving a number of markets with no health care insurer for the coming year. No exchange, healthcare, no insurer on the Obamacare exchange that will offer insurance. We have somebody named Mr. Speaker who has called in. Mr. Speaker, hello. How are you doing today?
Pretty good there, Steve. How you doing?
Great, thank you. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I just wanted to bid on my American compatriots here from up in Canada that you guys made the right decision. I think you picked quite an amazing president that's really going to stand up for all of the things that I think you guys stand for. So, I mean, jobs is what we need. We have the same problem up here with a liberal prime minister, and we're having the same issues that you had once before. And the only thing we would ever ask for is that we could get a president or a prime minister just like what you have right now. And I think that's just fantastic. And keep up the good work at RSBN.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you watching from up there. So you're a fan of President Trump, and it sounds like you're not a fan of Justin Trudeau.
Not really. He's a bit of a pansy for me. I'm ex-Navy, so I don't. We don't like that kind of nice hair, kind of look good looking, kind of. He's a bit young and naive. I think he's missing the boat here. Whereas you guys are taking off and your economy is booming and ours is going down the toilet, and there's quite a big difference going on here between the two of us. So all I can say is that I tune in every day, love RSBN, and all the great people in the chat room and YouTube.
Thank you so much for watching, Mr. Speaker, and for saying those kind words. And by the way, so I'm guessing at some point, because Prime Minister Trudeau already met with President Trump. But if they do it again, I hope you call in and give us insider perspective on that, because you'd be somebody good to talk to about that.
Sure, it'd be nice to have him up here, but I think he's got some priorities and things to work out first down there, and it would be nice to have him up here, and we'll give him the royal treatment. I have one more question before I let you go, Mr. Speaker, which is to put you on the spot. So, we hear different proposals about how the healthcare system should be fixed, and some people think there should be like a national healthcare system. How do you like or don't like, and I have no idea what you're going to say about this, but I'll ask you anyway, how do you like the health system in Canada? Actually, I have no complaints about it. I haven't had to go for any major surgeries. Okay. So for people like myself, it's if you have to go for open heart surgery, cancer treatments, that's all covered, which costs a lot of money, I imagine, in the States. And for specialized treatments for like diseases that are very rare, that's pretty much the only time we have to go down there. And there's some laser treatments and some really unique stuff that cancer treatments down there that are really specialized. But for chemotherapy and basic cancer care and your regular health care, it actually works out pretty good. I won't complain about it. I've had to use it once or twice, and I find it works well, but you might find some disagreement there because some in the family in the RSBN family might disagree, but we've quite enjoyed it immensely. It's not an enjoying thing to go to, but it's something you just don't have to worry about. It's one less thing you have to concern yourself with, right? Right. Well, it's really does cost a lot of money. Yeah, you're right. So we cut back soon, so yeah, no, and it's every really year cut back a little more because it's the amount of people that abuse the system and hypochondriacs and those kind of folks that they actually ruin the system for everybody. Interesting. But, so it needs to be regulated a little bit better, I suppose. Right. It's great. Thank you, though. It's good for us. It's really interesting to hear that perspective from somebody who actually lives and uses the system. I thank you for sharing that with our viewers, and thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it, Mr. Speaker. All right. Thanks, Stephen. Keep up the good work, everybody. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye now. Mr. Speaker from Canada
calling in, a fan of President Trump. So, all right, let me check here and see. We're going to stay on a couple more minutes here. If you'd like to get in a last question or a last call, write to me on the addresses on the screen, at Lookner on Twitter, or steve.lookner@rsbn.tv on email, or you can call in 202-470-0049. Appreciate all of your messages and your calls today and all your interesting perspective. Also, thank you to the moderators for moderating today. Thank you to everybody who's donated today. We got a bunch of donations. If you'd like to donate and help us stay on the air and bring you an alternative to the mainstream media, we are viewer supported, so we need you to stay on the air. We need your support. You can go to rsbn.tv/donate. That's rsbn.tv/donate. Or you can click the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat room. There's a little dollar there. You can click it. Or if you want to get free stuff from Right Side in exchange for making a monthly donation, like this mug here, you can go to our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/rsbn, and see the different free stuff you can get for making different levels of monthly donations. Okay, I think I have a couple more messages here I want to get to. Deplorable Jenny says, last night Sean Hannity tweeted out about promoting Newt Gingrich's new book, Understanding Trump, which comes out June 13th. Oh, I think you want to give the book a shout out. So if you go, it is for sale. Is it pre-order? Yeah, it comes out June 13th. So if you're interested in Newt Gingrich having, I didn't know this was coming out. Understanding Trump, it's on Amazon. I'm holding it up right here. Understanding Trump, Newt Gingrich, you can buy it on Amazon, available for pre-order. June 13th is when it comes out. So thanks to Portable Jenny for letting people know about that. Okay. See, now I have too many windows open. Trinidad Scorpion writes in, Steve, I've heard you have stated multiple times that you did not have anyone in DC, and I would like to know what happened to Margaret. I've seen many people ask about her in the chat, and nobody ever answers anymore. Last I heard she was on personal time. Did you give up the office there too? Thanks. So a couple things. Regarding Margaret, yeah, Margaret had some personal stuff she needed to do, and we've been in touch with Margaret, and she does plan on coming back to Right Side. So that's the latest on Margaret. If you want to ask Margaret directly, feel free to go to her Twitter account. You can always message her on Twitter. Maybe she'll post an update there. But I do know she's told us she's planning on coming back, and we hope she's back soon. What is Margaret's Twitter address, Jake? Twitter handle? Do we know? At Maggie something? At Margaret J. Howell? Can you double check that while I yabber here? And so Jake will double check that. And in terms of, the DC office, we opened the DC office. We had a DC office open for a couple months around inauguration time. And actually it was very helpful during inauguration because we were there a lot. But, it turned out that Margaret J. Howell on Twitter is where you can reach Margaret. So it turned out with the DC office, as I said before, we're not that big of a company. And it just felt like at this point, it was better putting our resources into the Auburn, Alabama studio location, and that would maximize our programming that way. If we were spending money on an office there, we didn't think like it would benefit you and give you as much programming benefit as putting that money here. So it's something we'd like to do in the future, but just given how small we are as a company, it just felt for us like this was not the right time to have that office open. Again, it was very helpful to have it during the inauguration, but it's something we would like to do in the future. But we need a little more, the fund situation is not such where we think it would be a great use of our funds to put it towards the DC office because we don't really have the personnel right now to staff that office adequately. Thanks for writing in there, Trinidad Scorpion. What does this say? This is from... Jake, did you see this... Did you reply to this or did somebody else reply to this? We got this email about fans having a Right Side live one night only thing. Oh, Joe did it. Okay. We got an email from some German company or something. Anyways, I'll have to look at this later.
RSBN for one night only.
Can't they see it's live basically every day? I mean, if it's live, is everybody going to come to... everybody can come to Auburn, Alabama. Let's see. John Stanton writes in, Steve, are you covering the anti-Sharia marches on June 10th? So I have not heard about these, but we're not going to be able to go to these things just because we're very limited in terms of staff. But we're always open to people. If you're somewhere and you think it would be interesting for our viewers to see it, you can always email us at feedback@rsbn.tv and say, hey, I'm going to be at this event, or I have some footage of this event. Feel free to send it to us. We're happy to show footage or show a live stream if we're allowed to, if it's if you own it and it's going to be of interest. So feel free to give us a shout if you're going to be at something or know of some footage you think we should show on the air. All right, Jake, I think, are we looking to maybe wrap it up soon, Jake, I think? Okay, yes, so we're going to, in the next 5 minutes, we're going to wrap this up. Let me just check too many windows open. Hold on a second. Oh, and I just want to say hi again to the people watching us on Facebook. Appreciate you tuning in. And as always, the people on YouTube. And whatever that radio station is called. Red Alert Radio? Rapid Fire Radio. I guess I wasn't that close. I had the R right. I'm just checking to see if there's any more news. Oh, and I should repeat again that tomorrow, be sure to watch Nick Fuentes, America First with Nick Fuentes, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here at Right Side Broadcasting. And we'll cover the press briefing if that happens tomorrow, if there's a press briefing tomorrow. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Okay, so we hope you've enjoyed our coverage today of the Sean Spicer press briefing and our pre-show and our post-show. We cover all of the briefings. Thank you to the moderators for moderating the chat. Thank you to Jacob Seals for producing. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and you'll know about all our videos. Subscribe to Right Side Broadcasting and click the notifications bell when you subscribe to make sure you get all the notifications about our videos. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. Like and follow us on Facebook, Right Side Broadcasting on Facebook. Again, on Twitter, I'm at Lookner. Jake is at Jacob RSBN Music. Right Side Broadcasting is at RSB Network. And what else do I got to say? Yeah, and join us on Thursday for our coverage of the James Comey testimony and also for the British elections. So much coverage, our live British election results coverage. So much going on this week. And one last time, thank you for your donations, and we do rely on your support to stay on the air. So if you like our coverage, please consider donating. Any amount really helps us. At RSB Network, you can donate that way at RSB Network. At RSB Network. I'm losing my mind. At rsbn.tv/donate. That's rsbn.tv/donate. Or click the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat room, or go to our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/RSBN, where you can get free stuff in exchange for setting up a monthly donation. For now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your interesting questions and your comments. It's been fun covering this today, as it always is. And until next time, we will see you soon. Have a great day from Right Side Broadcasting.